If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers compare RTX 4060 builds, and still feel that knot in your stomach about whether a pre-built desktop will actually fit into your life, you're not alone. The biggest fear is ending up with a machine that looks great on paper but forces you to compromise on space, noise, or future upgrades. That hesitation is exactly why I'm doing a deep dive on the msi Aegis Z2 today, so you can decide if it really makes sense for you or if you'd be better off waiting for something else. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of person who typically reaches for a pre-built gaming PC. Most of us want solid performance right out of the box without having to hunt down compatible parts, install the OS, and troubleshoot driver issues. At the same time, we don't want to feel locked into a chassis that can't grow with us, especially when the next generation of GPUs or RAM is on the horizon. The Aegis Z2 tries to bridge that gap by bundling a Ryzen 7-7700, an RTX 4060, 16GB of DDR5, and a 1TB NVMe drive, while still claiming DIY-friendly upgrades. It also comes with a keyboard, mouse, Wi-Fi, and Windows 11 Home, which eliminates a few extra purchases you'd normally have to add. Now, the headline specs sound impressive, but what do they translate to in everyday use? I ran a few scenarios in my head that mirror common gaming and work setups. Imagine you're streaming Elden Ring at 1080p with a facecam and a couple of overlays. The RTX 4060 paired with the Ryzen 7 can handle that comfortably, keeping frame rates in the 7090 frames per second range while the CPU has enough headroom to encode the stream without dropping the game's performance. That's a practical win, because you're not just getting raw numbers, you're getting a system that can multitask in the way many streamers actually need. If you're more of a competitive shooter player, say you sit in a small apartment and your main concern is low input latency and a clean, quiet room, the Aegis Z2's cool while gaming claim isn't just marketing fluff. Its internal layout places the 80+ gold power supply at the bottom, and the airflow path draws cool air from the front, pushes it over the GPU and CPU, and exhausts out the rear. In real-world tests, users have reported that the fans stay at a low hum even during intense 144Hz matches, which is a relief if you're sensitive to background noise or have a roommate studying nearby. On the flip side, there are hidden trade-offs that often get glossed over. The first is size. The Aegis Z2 follows a minimalist design that looks sleek on a desk, but it also means the internal space is tighter than a traditional tower. While MSI advertises easy to upgrade, you'll find that swapping the GPU for something larger than the RTX 4060 can be a squeeze. The clearance is enough for most current mid-range cards, but if you plan to jump to an RTX 4070 Ti or a future 12-core GPU, you might need to reconsider the chassis or be prepared for extra work to make it fit. That's not a deal-breaker for everyone, but it's a real factor if you view your PC as a long-term investment. Another practical weakness is the memory configuration. The system ships with a single 16GB DDR5 stick. Dual-channel operation is better for bandwidth, especially in memory-intensive titles like Microsoft Flight Simulator. Adding a second identical module is simple enough, but you'll have to open the case and make sure you match the timings exactly. If you're not comfortable with that kind of hands-on tinkering, you could end up with suboptimal performance or, worse, a mismatch that causes stability issues. For people who want a completely hands-off experience, a pre-built with dual-channel memory already installed would be more reassuring. Let's talk value beyond the headline numbers. The inclusion of a 1TB NVMe SSD means you won't have to juggle external drives for your games and media. It's fast enough that you'll see load times cut in half compared to a traditional SATA SSD, which is something you notice instantly when launching large open-world titles. The 80+ gold PSU is another hidden gem. Many budget pre-builts skimp on power supplies, leading to coil whine or early failures. A high-efficiency PSU not only runs cooler but also gives you more headroom for future upgrades, assuming the case can accommodate them. Who should buy this machine? If you're a mid-range gamer who wants to jump into current AAA titles at 1080p or 1440p without spending hours on a parts list, the Aegis Z2 is a solid match. It also works well for creators who need a decent GPU for video editing, because the RTX 4060's CUDA cores accelerate rendering in popular software like Adobe Premiere. The bundled keyboard and mouse are decent enough for casual use, saving you a couple of extra purchases. In short, the sweet spot is someone who wants a rear ditto play system now, appreciates a clean aesthetic, and is comfortable opening the case for modest upgrades down the line.